This is McCarron, the backup quarterback, who is getting an earful. Nick Saban up in his grill.
Well, what he's focused on all week, getting each guy to play up to the standard of Alabama football.
Dale Jackson here for Yellow Hammer. Now, let's have a conversation about A.J. McCarron running for office as a lieutenant governor candidate. Now, what does he stand for? I don't know. What does he believe? I don't know. Because every single piece of information about this guy running for office is predicated on the fact that he is a former Alabama quarterback. And there's nothing wrong with that if it is in addition to a bunch of other things about why you would make a good lieutenant governor. But I've seen nothing that indicates any of that. And I've looked, and I'm going to show you some of it. You can go look at the original article that AL.com has about A.J. McCarron, where he announces that he's running for one of the state's top offices, which is true. It's absolutely true. The only thing remotely political in this thing is a reference to Charlie Kirk, which Paul Feinbaum referenced as well. And I'm not suggesting that these gentlemen do not find the Charlie Kirk story to be a story that is compelling them to get involved in politics. I don't suggest that at all. I'm sure that it absolutely is a story that is compelling them to get into politics. But it's a story that doesn't really mean anything. Now, he did also endorse Donald Trump in 2016, and he made an endorsement in the Mobile mayor's race as well. But this first article says absolutely nothing about what he believes. The second article doesn't really say anything about it either. What does the man actually believe? He appeared, apparently, at an event, and at this event, he had very little to say. And you can scroll through the article, and you can find yourself a bunch of stuff about where he was and what he was doing and all this other stuff. You can see that. But the part that I found most interesting was McCarron's campaign representative, Scott Boone, told AL.com that the candidate wasn't taking questions yet, but he would be unveiling his initiatives for office soon. He announced he was running for office on the 23rd. I assume he knew that he was running about this for at least like 2 weeks before that, because that's when he registered to run for office. But he still hasn't talked about anything or any reason why he is doing this. So I find that to be kind of concerning. I find that to be an issue that he probably needs to address. And as of right now, he's addressed none of that. And those issues stand pretty prominently in his campaign. And I'll show you some media coverage because they're starting to hit him on this. And you know what? It's pretty fair.
And News 19 is your local election headquarters. Another big name in college football history is looking to get into state politics. Former starting Alabama quarterback A.J. McCarron announcing he's running for lieutenant governor. McCarron was with the Tide for 5 years and won 3 national championships. He released a video this week detailing why he's decided to run for the second highest government position in the state.
The Montgomery insiders and career politicians have had their chance. It's time for political newcomers and outsider candidates like me to lead the battle.
Of course, voters will get to decide who they want in the primary election, which is going to take place on May 19th of next year.
We absolutely will. And we'll have to decide. But again, in that video, he showed him playing football, and he showed him standing next to Donald Trump. Maybe that's enough. Maybe it's not. Well, I guess we're going to find out. But look at some of the other media coverage about that event where he went, and it was local to where he lives, and he goes there. Did they get to ask any questions?
CBS 42 is your local election headquarters. The race to be Alabama's next lieutenant governor is heating up. Former University of Alabama quarterback and lieutenant governor candidate A.J. McCarron snapped pictures while making an appearance on the Gulf Coast on Thursday. While McCarron worked the crowd, his campaign team declined any interviews, but one of his biggest opponents, Wes Allen, current Alabama Secretary of State, had a lot to say about the race.
There's no one more qualified to be the next Republican lieutenant governor than myself. I'm the only one in this race that has a track record of always fighting for and defending our conservative values and principles and winning.
Alabama's primary set for May 19th.
Okay, so he didn't want to talk at that event either. Wes Allen, by the way, needs to be mentioning that he also played football at the University of Alabama. I mean, apparently that's like the big thing here. So that was like, oh, his people didn't want to talk. But I'll tell you, they were a little harder on some other stations. Listen to this.
WKRG News 5 is your local election headquarters. Former Alabama quarterback A.J. McCarron made his first campaign stop on the Gulf Coast this week. As News 5's Kate Sherman reports, the newest candidate for Alabama Lieutenant Governor is being tight-lipped about some of his plans.
Several GOP candidates were on the Gulf Coast, but it was the second highest office in the state that got all the attention.
A.J. McCarron running for Lieutenant Governor.
Everyone wanted to grab a picture with former Alabama quarterback A.J. McCarron, now running for Lieutenant Governor. McCarron worked the crowd, but declined any interviews with the media. But one of his biggest...
Okay, so the same exact B-roll and stuff like that. They're working together across the state. That's fine. I thought it was pretty interesting to watch as they said he was tight-lipped, and they're hammering him. I mean, it's a slight dig, but it's a hammer nonetheless that he won't speak to the media. And I'm not even going to suggest that that's unfair for them. Right now, it makes a lot of sense for them to be saying that because he doesn't want to talk to them. He don't want to talk to anyone. He's not going to friendly outlets. He's not going to unfriendly outlets. Yeah, they want to get in there and see what he believes, mostly to hammer him because he's a Republican running for office. But he's not offering up anything. Now, I know for a fact that conservative outlets have reached out to him too, and they're getting nowhere as well. And there's some consternation building in that movement. But this is a similar station. And they bring up another dig on him for not answering questions.
WKRG News 5 is your local election headquarters. Former Alabama quarterback A.J. McCarron made his first campaign stop on the Gulf Coast today and eluded reporters like they were pass rushers.
All right, so we're doing the thing where we're going to talk about football all the time with this guy, and I get it. And look, that's probably to his benefit. Also, not talking to the media isn't the worst thing in the world for a candidate to do, but eventually, he's going to have to come out and have some positions. And the fact that you can't tell me a single thing he believes about anything is a bit of a problem. That's a problem because people who are involved and who will vote in Republican primaries and especially Republican runoffs, they want to know what you believe. They want to know what you think. And yes, the celebrity that is A.J. McCarron will open up doors. There will be people that will glad hand him, will want pictures. You saw it in those videos, of course. Of course they'll want those pictures. But eventually they're going to want to sit down and talk with him. I want to sit down and talk with him. And I've been part of conversations about getting him on my various platforms, and they've fallen through. He didn't put out a fundraising filing last month either, when we know he's been out there, I'm assuming, raising money here, and he hasn't done that. Is there ever going to be a penalty for that? Probably not. But the fact of the matter is this. Paul Feinbaum and A.J. McCarron are both running for office based on their connection to college football. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not even suggesting it's a bad thing. The guy who's the guy who is going to be the next governor, Tommy Tuberville, his claim to fame, his claim to name recognition is solely based on college football. But he went out and made all sorts of statements about what he believed, what he thought, what he wanted. And he did that from day one. This idea that you're not going to be able to talk about it is a little wild. It's going to be hard to do. It's going to be really hard to do. But they believe, and there's been a calculus made here, that talking about things in detail is not really necessary at this point. And maybe that's right. I've been told by other people in state media that the polls indicate that both Paul Feinbaum and A.J. McCarron are absolutely leading in the polls. If you put them in there, they are going to do fantastic numbers, and it's going to be great. And I don't doubt that for a second. We could very easily wake up one day after the election and have Tommy Tuberville as the governor, A.J. McCarron as the lieutenant governor, and Paul Feinbaum as a United States Senator. That's a real possibility. I don't know what Mark Ingram is doing, but there's a real possibility that he could be the Secretary of State. Who knows? Maybe he wants to be. I'll put that idea out there. I'm not here to be critical of these guys for running because if I had a different job, I'd probably be running for office. But I can also tell you that I would go out there and talk about what I believe. Use your name to open the door, but you need to also discuss what you want to do if you are elected. And I'll tell you, specifically for A.J. McCarron, he's got big shoes to fill. Lieutenant Governor Will Ainsworth has been incredibly active. He has been all over the place. He has been giving speeches, advocating for positions, disagreeing with the governor at times. And I know A.J. McCarron says he wants to be Tommy Tuberville's quarterback. That's great. It's another football reference there. You've got to be able to stand on your own and tell us what you actually believe. Now, maybe A.J. McCarron will do this and none of this will make sense down the line, but he hasn't done it yet, and he's been given the opportunity. And I'll open the door up to A.J. McCarron and Paul Feinbaum and anyone else running for office. I will interview you on any of my platforms, and I would love to talk to you about what you actually believe about certain topics and certain issues. And I get it. Feinbaum and A.J. McCarron have talked about Charlie Kirk and made that case. And I get it. It affected me. It affected everyone. Unless you're a heartless monster who decided to go out and start talking bad about Charlie Kirk and his family and everyone. Forget about that. I get that it affected you, but I need to know what you believe about other things. And both of these gentlemen, if they run, are going to have all the media attention in the world that they want. If A.J. McCarron says, I want to talk to you, people are going to say, sure, let's talk over and over and over again. But they need to fill that time with something more than I'm an outsider, Charlie Kirk, Donald Trump. Talk about what you actually want to do. Talk about the current fights. There was a government shutdown going on. What was their position on that? Where would they have been? What would they have done? This is a perfect opportunity to voice those opinions, and they chose not to. And that choice matters.